Hello! If you like stories like this, subscribe to this channel to not miss new videos.
Mark and I had been married for 11 years when the numbers came up. We weren't wealthy, but we were steady. He worked in the small car repair shop, covered in grease most days, while I worked as a receptionist at a dental clinic. We shared bills, made budgets, argued over silly things like whose turn it was to take out the trash, and laughed over even sillier things, like when the toaster would burn our bread no matter what setting it was on. We had dreams, sure. A bigger home, a trip to Italy, maybe even a little coffee shop we'd run together after retirement. But they were someday dreams, wrapped in patience and the quiet comfort of knowing we were a team. Then came that Tuesday. It was raining, and I'd just finished making spaghetti when Mark burst through the door. His work boots were muddy, his hair damp, but his hands were shaking. In one of them, he held a ticket. I won, he stammered, his eyes wild. I laughed at first. Mark liked little pranks, and I assumed this was one. But then he showed me the numbers, each one circled in blue pen. $32 million. It didn't even feel real. We stood in the kitchen, holding each other, both of us talking too fast about the debts we could pay, the places we could go, the things we could finally give to our families. The first month was pure joy. He bought me a gold bracelet I'd once admired in a shop window, and we took my mother to a spa for her birthday. He traded in our beat-up sedan for a shiny black Mercedes. We started looking at houses in the hills. But slowly, the glow began to change. Mark began dressing differently. Not in a let's look nice for dinner way, but in an I have somewhere important to be without you way. Expensive watches, custom suits, designer shoes that cost more than our old monthly rent. He started going out in the evenings, saying he was meeting with some guys about investments or networking. At first, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? But the nights grew longer. He came home smelling of perfume I didn't wear. His laughter, when it came, felt too sharp, too loud, like it belonged to someone else entirely. Then came the shirt. It was a white dress shirt, one of the ones he had custom tailored. I found it in the laundry basket, and at first I thought it was just dirty from dinner. But as I smoothed it out to put in the wash, I saw it, a deep crimson smudge right on the inside of the collar. Lipstick, the kind that doesn't smudge by accident. My stomach dropped. My hands went cold. I just stood there, holding the shirt, like it might explain itself if I waited long enough. That night, I didn't wait for him to come home. I sat in the living room until midnight, the shirt folded neatly on the coffee table. When he walked in, smelling of whiskey and something floral, I asked him quietly, "Who is she?" He froze. For a moment, there was guilt in his eyes, but it vanished almost instantly. He sighed, like I was overreacting. "Anna, I've changed. My life is different now. I'm different." Different. That was his word for betrayal. The woman's name was Claire. 26, a business consultant. Though I never saw any business being done. She traveled with him to meetings in other cities. She laughed at all his new jokes, the ones I didn't understand. He told me they had a connection I couldn't relate to anymore. Within a week, he was gone. He moved into a luxury apartment downtown, the kind with floor-to-ceiling windows and a concierge who smiled at you like they knew your worth. The house plans we'd made were abandoned. The bracelet he bought me gathered dust in a drawer. I didn't fight for him. Not because I didn't love him, but because I realized the man I married had left long before his body walked out the door. Money hadn't just changed his life, it had rewritten him. Sometimes, late at night, I think back to that rainy Tuesday when he came home with that crumpled ticket. If I could go back, I'd tear it into shreds before he even read the numbers. Not because I didn't want the money, but because I'd rather be poor with the man I loved than rich and a stranger to him.
3 years had passed since the night he walked out. I had rebuilt my life in small, careful steps. I moved into a modest townhouse, started taking night classes, and eventually became the office manager at the dental clinic. My days were full, not glamorous, but steady, honest. Mark's life, on the other hand, played out in the headlines I never asked to see. Claire had left him after barely a year. Rumor had it she ran off with someone richer. Bad investments, reckless spending, and lawsuits from business partners drained his winnings faster than anyone thought possible. The Mercedes was sold, the luxury apartment gone. I didn't expect to see him again. But one overcast afternoon, as I was leaving the grocery store, I spotted a familiar figure near the parking lot. He was standing alone, wearing a jacket that had seen better days, fumbling with a pack of cigarettes. When he looked up, our eyes met. For a second, it was like time folded in on itself, and I was back in our little apartment, eating burnt toast and laughing over nothing. But then I remembered the lipstick, the perfume, the way he said, "I'm different." "Anna," he said softly, almost like he wasn't sure he had the right to use my name. I gave him a polite nod. "Mark." We stood there, the silence between us heavy with all the things we didn't say. He tried for a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You look good," he murmured. "I am," I replied simply. I could see the question forming on his lips, whether I was happy, whether I had forgiven him. But I didn't give him the chance. I just offered a small, bittersweet smile and walked past him, groceries in hand, my heels clicking against the pavement. As I drove away, I caught one last glimpse of him in the rearview mirror, still standing there, cigarette unlit, watching me go. And for the first time since the night he left, I felt truly, completely free.
Hello! If you like stories like this, subscribe to this channel to not miss new videos.